Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the ELC Even 90, which is the best camouflage available on any high tier tank in the game, and why I was oh so wrong about this vehicle. Now at the start of this game you'll be able to see me say in chat that I was a little bit frustrated that we are not going to take the hill. I say GG to the mediums because that's how important I think it is to win the hill on mines. I honestly think that the team that wins the hill is going to go on to win probably about 3/4 of the rounds after that. It's just so important to be able to gain vision, but especially in a game where there's lots of artillery. But luckily for us, there aren't too many artillery in this game. So maybe the fact that we aren't going to take the hill will give us definitely a disadvantage against the amount of tank destroyers that we have, but possibly we'll have to see just how much of a failure it was by our mediums to not try and contest it at the start of the battle. So, the ELC Even 90, the best camouflage on any light tank or any tank inside the game. And everybody knows about Equipment 2.0 and the new possibilities that have arrived along with it. Hopefully you've watched my Equipment 2.0 video. I have actually put on one of Wargaming's new pieces of equipment, which is called a low noise exhaust system, and if you put it inside the spotting slot of this vehicle, or shall I say the scouting slot of this vehicle, that means that you get a flat 8% increase to the vehicle's camouflage, both when it's moving and also when it's stationary. Now this is incredibly powerful for a light tank, which is very, very small like the ELC Even 90. And when you combine it with a good crew with concealment, when you're also using vents on the vehicle, which will also help the crew's concealment a little bit more. And importantly, I'm using a camouflage directive on this vehicle as well. I'm playing it as the ultimate stealthy tank inside the game. And I can get up to about 56% camouflage when I'm moving. And that's pretty wild, because even if you've got really good view range on a premium tank, like the Lerva for example, you can get up to about 460 meters view range if you've got it fully decked out, even without coated optics. If you choose to use coated optics, you're going to get it above there, obviously with binoculars as well. But what this means is that with my 56% camouflage, if we imagine that the Lerva has 460 meters view range, unless I'm firing, that means that I can get within about 210 meters of the Lerva without even being spotted. Now that's absolutely disgusting. So I'm using that to my advantage here to know, well, I can just dance all around. I don't really have to stay inside the bushes here. And then what that allows me to do is to actually use the bushes to be able to conceal my position while I'm firing at these tanks. And so you'll see that while I am loading gold here, the SU-130 PM, he's never going to be able to spot me on the move. I'm calling in requesting some fire on the SU-130. But what I really want to do right now is just to make sure that I'm using the bush on my left to conceal my position against the Lerva, even if I fire. And right now, look, the T-28, it hasn't quite caught a glimpse at me. I guess it's going to catch a glimpse at me right now. I missed one shell on the move over the top of the turret. Just get caught out. Dodge a shell from the SU-130 due to my tiny size, and luckily for me, this T-28, who obviously wanted to try and get the corner of the map, maybe try and advance the situation, thinking that they wanted to try and go and deliver another line of fire on on his opponents, my team. It just didn't quite work out because we were able to spot them there, and the Type 61 was able to shut them down. And so what this vehicle is able to do is just absolutely ludicrous. I can manage to get up to about 460, 470 meters view range on this vehicle with coated optics and vents. Sure, you're going to have a little bit of a problem because I'm not using a vertical stabilizer on this vehicle. But that 56% camo is just allowing me, like, can you believe I don't get spotted by the SU-130 PM there? That's wild. I was at 227 meters away. And I know that if the SU-130 is moving, that he doesn't have binoculars. And if he doesn't have binoculars, there's also no way he's going to be able to spot me. And so I can go, just drive around in front of the bushes, wait until I'm right behind the bush here, so I can shoot through the bush without a penalty. Well, so shall I say, with no threat of being spotted by the SU-130. So I can put 2 shots into him, go forwards to spot him again, and put the 3rd, while also dodging the shot where the SU-130 seems to try and blind fire at the bush location, completely confusing my opponent. And this is what I really didn't quite get about this vehicle. But then again, Equipment 2.0 wasn't in the game, and you couldn't manage to get up to such ludicrous amounts of camo like this vehicle has. When I first looked at this tank in a tank review, I'm very statistically orientated, especially when I'm trying to preview vehicles. You have to have like a grounding to be able to base your decisions on. So I looked at the damage per minute of this vehicle, which is an absolute abysmal 1,131. Yeah, that's pretty much half what a lot of the other competitive tier 8 light tanks are able to achieve. And if you look against higher tier tanks, quite often higher tier tanks are going to have triple the damage per minute of this vehicle, especially considering that you can't use a gun rammer on auto loaders. And so this means that you need very long drawn out games, just like we're having here. And look at this, 284 meters away, and it's not until I fire that the Lurv is able to spot me. He panics a little bit and I low roll a couple of shells, but luckily for me, the third shell does go in and we get the justice kill on the Lurver. And undoubtedly, it's that forward position that we took, the 1,500 spotting and the 2,500 damage that we dealt at decent distances that has put us back into this game. And it's meant that even though we didn't take the hill, that we're still in it to win it. So I'm thinking, was it actually kind of a blessing that my medium tanks decided to not go up on the hill? Maybe I would have lost my duel to the T-92 and then I wouldn't have been able to have the impact down this flank that I have managed to put out on the enemy team. So maybe I was quite lucky that the medium tanks decided to not go up on the hill on mines for once, but I still feel like if we wanted to have more of a guaranteed chance to be able to win, it would have been a better play at the start of the battle. I think I was quite lucky that the enemy heavies just didn't quite manage to contest. And in the end, by spotting for those TDs and the medium tanks that were down the western flank and stopping the T-28 from advancing and pretty much just locking down the entire map. I mean, just look at this. I don't get spotted by the Borask until I get proxy spotted by the T-28. And what this thing is able to do just pushes beyond all of the statistics of the tank. It doesn't matter if it's got a 2.5 second intraclip reload. It doesn't matter if it only does 220 damage. It doesn't matter if it takes 5 seconds to be able to deal 660 damage, whereas the Borask is able to do 720 in that 2-second delay between the two shells. I'm not saying that this is probably the best tank in World of Tanks, but is it the worst tank like I thought it was going to be from my tank review? Oh, certainly not. I was definitely wrong about this vehicle. And there's something about the tiny size that means that you're not going to be able to get caught at long range. And now, speccing it up fully with all of the extra concealment bonuses that are in the game with the directives and the equipment 2.0, which a new addition since the vehicle was first released, can transcend this thing into something which is absolutely ludicrous. Now, I'm not saying that that's a free-to-play way to play the tank, right? I'm using all of the equipment. I've got a premium consumable on the vehicle. I have a very good crew on this tank. A very good crew is very, very useful for being able to do some wild things against your opponents. But also importantly, I am using that concealment directive, which just provides that little bit of extra. And when you're kind of min-maxing a vehicle, sometimes it's the min-maxing process that actually pushes the vehicle to beyond the balanced position inside World of Tanks. And that allows you to be able to get up to this T-28, and god, that's some awful aim time and awful dispersion, but does it really matter when you can just get around the battlefield however you want? With a little French assassin driving everywhere, shutting down all the tanks. And you wouldn't really consider that mines would be one of the best maps for a light tank, right? I have to admit, this is one of my go-to tanks now for when I'm just feeling like I want to play something a little bit different, I want to try and use my concealment, and I want to try and still have the backup of having an autoloader. Because as we're going to see here, as we start a duel against a Borask, this is not a duel that you really want to be taking. But I put my first shot in Chansey, going to come around the corner, put a second shot in, and this is a bit close. Hey, we get our third shot as well on the Borask with our final 3 regular rounds inside this tank. Now going to have to load the gold as well. This tank really isn't designed to deal a large amount of damage. Its total potential damage is less than 10,000, and that's if you're able to penetrate all of your shots and not be able to ricochet them. Well, nice driving Skoda. I guess you've got the hit points to be able to do some crazy stuff at the end of the game, right? But that, the magazine, the camo, it's going to end up being quite expensive though, so definitely watch out for that. I have to admit, I'm going to end up using a lot of credits in this game. But then again, do you really play this kind of a tank to make credits? I don't think so. I don't think you jump on the opportunity to play the ELC Even 90 to go and make some credits. You jump on the opportunity to play the ELC Even 90 to play the smallest tank at high tier with the best camouflage that I would thoroughly recommend. I mean, just look how small this tank is. That is a shovel for scale. I mean, how ludicrous is this? This tank is what, about 3 shovels lengths? Outrageous. You play this vehicle for the jokes. You play this vehicle for the memes. You play this vehicle to go and sneak around and be able to be the ultimate stealth vehicle inside the game. And once you kind of don't really care so much about just being results orientated and totally caring about just having a true dominant performance in every single round that you play, for that kind of an impact, you want to be playing something like an LT432. If you just want to have a little bit of fun and be the ultimate stealth tank. I was wrong about this one, I'll fully admit. Well, it's definitely not the best premium tank inside the game. I think if we were looking at it from a fun perspective or a category like that, it's one that I would recommend for the experienced players out there who have a good French light tank crew, who want to try out something a little bit different. So we get an ace tanker here. Boy, what an ace tanker. 1,682 base experience. And I'm glad I didn't try to go and contest up on the hill with the Skoda T27 at the start of the battle. 4,800 damage, 1,486 spotting, a top gun. We get an Orlix medal for destroying 2 vehicles that were higher tier than us. We get a high caliber, bizarrely enough. You don't often get a high caliber in a vehicle like this unless you're in, we say, +2 matchmaking. A tank sniper for dealing most of that at long range, even though this tank isn't a sniper. Just putting yourself in positions where you've got clean shots into the flank or the rear of your enemy vehicles. Then you're going to be in a nice position to be able to start racking it up. I must highlight, however, we spent 20,000 credits on consumables. That was for the concealment directive on this vehicle. We spent 80,000 credits on ammunition for this vehicle as well. As you saw me fire a lot of APCR rounds, it's not often that you have to do more damage, 3 times more damage than the spotting that you're able to do in this tank. We still managed to make profit. However, that was probably by running a credit booster and also with a premium account. So don't think that you're going to be able to have this vehicle fully tricked out and not start to hemorrhage credits. But do you play this thing to make credits? I don't think so. This thing is fun within its own right. And I will fully admit, while I sound like, in a way I don't like it, I will fully admit that I was completely wrong about the ELC Even 90, and I can totally understand why this vehicle has become a little bit of a fan favorite for some of the more interesting light tank players out there. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, I'm live streaming right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby, and it's time for the Tech Tree Showcase. This week, I'm going to be featuring the original German medium tank, Tech Tree, leading up towards the E50M, because it's recently been buffed. There's some buffs to the E50, there's some buffs to the Panther II, I believe, possibly, and some definite buff to the turret armor of the E50M. And so come along right now if you want to see whether the original German medium tank Tech Tree is now relevant once again in 2020. And so, I'm really looking forward to seeing you all right now, so you can get an idea of what the Tech Tree is like. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.